always open. We have schools teaching Islam.
Hijab is part of a school uniform.
Islam has come and it's established here in the West.
And everyone's happy.
They love us, our food,
our fashion,
our culture.
The media is always on our side.
We've got plenty of English speakers, plenty of English books,
and plenty of places to go and learn in the English language.
Let's be real.
Let's get active.
Be more involved.
www.imamhusseinfree.tv.
No other person before Ali was born in the Kaaba, no other person after Ali will be born in the Kaaba. So generation after generation, reconstruction after reconstruction, they try to plaster the Kaaba, cement the Kaaba, build the Kaaba with bricks, gold plate the Kaaba for all you want, hide the fact as much as you want, but the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there in every age and every generation. Even if the Kaaba was to be built of gold, that crack would appear over there to remind the people that there is only one wasi after Rasulullah, and that is Qaidul Gurr al-Muhajjalin, Imamul Muttaqin, Wasi Rasul Rabbil Alameen, Ali ibn Abi Talib.
Jiddu, I need to tell you a secret. I had an exam today and I cheated on the exam, and to be honest, I feel like it's eating me up inside as if it's haram.
Your father used to do the exact something and would always get in trouble. But you have done it now and cannot go back. I don't know if it is haram. Khair inshallah.
Thanks, Jiddu. Jiddu, I wanted to ask if it's halal to buy lottery tickets. They're so cheap and we could make a lot of money.
I don't know if it is halal or haram, but never think about something like that again.
Okay, I was just asking. Jiddu.
Ka'abitni, what do you want now?
I just wanted to ask if the sweet beef gelatin is halal or haram.
You're supposed to check it before buying it, not after. I don't know if this is halal or haram.
Okay.
What now? I am trying to relax. Why do you keep asking me? تعال هنا الخاطر الله. Just go watch AHKAM SOS. Any question you have, they can answer you. You can call them, message them, anything. Ask as much as you like. They can answer any question from any marja, okay?
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah wa barakatuh, and welcome to AHKAM SOS, the show that discusses Islamic duties and practices. Now, this is a live show. We do take in your questions. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask in regards to Islamic fiqh, please send them via the WhatsApp number, should be on the bottom there, and the QR code in the corner. That will take you straight to the WhatsApp page. If you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, put your questions in the comment section, and inshallah I'll be able to receive them on my lovely iPad here. If you'd like to give us a call, call us on 0203 515 0199. If you're outside the UK, you can call us on the WhatsApp number and we'll be more than happy to take your questions. Now, over the weekend, many of us were commemorating the istishhad and the martyrdom of Imam Jawad alayhi salam. And we would like to take this opportunity to extend our condolences to the Muslim Ummah and also to the Imam of our time, may Allah hasten his reappearance, on the tragic martyrdom of Imam Jawad alayhi salam. Inshallah, to discuss more is Sheikh Ali Maash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikhna, when we think of Imam Jawad alayhi salam, we know that he's buried in Baghdad. he didn't have a very long life. He died at the age of his mid-20s, I think he was, and so forth. So what sort of, what can we learn from the statements made by Imam Jawad alayhi salam for the believers especially?
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين عظم الله أجوركم وأجورنا on the martyrdom and istishhad of Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam. And may Allah bless us with his ziyarah in the Kadhimain, inshallah, qariban ajilan. In a narration by the Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salam, he states that al-mu'min yahtaju ila tawfiq min Allah, that the mu'min needs a good fortune, needs a good opportunity, let's say, from Allah Azza wa Jal, to be given by Allah Azza wa Jal to this mu'min, to this believer, to, for example, to perform good deeds and acts. It's the tawfiq that, for example, we visit Imam Hussein alayhi salam in the Arba'in. It's the tawfiq that we sit in the majalis of Ahlul Bayt and listen to the lectures, for example, and to the nawha of the reciters, for example. It's tawfiq min Allah Azza wa Jal. And this tawfiq is needed and gained through the dua of the mu'min, the good acts of the mu'min, the behavior and the conduct of the mu'min and the mu'minah as a result. So number one, the mu'min needs tawfiq from Allah Azza wa Jal. Number two, وَوَاعِظٌ مِن نَفْسِهِ. The mu'min needs an admonisher, an advisor from himself. So always you try to advise yourself that I shouldn't do this bad deed, for example. I should do this good act, for example. You advise yourself, you admonish yourself. You need this admonishment inside yourself. That's why you have narrations when it comes to muhasabat al-nafs, that you have the accountability of yourself every day, what you have done in the morning, in the afternoon, late evening. If it's good, then you ask Allah for more tawfiq for performing more good acts. If it's a sin, then you ask Allah forgiveness. So you need this admonishment inside yourself. And finally, وَقَبُولٌ مِمَّنْ يَنصَحُهُ, and to accept the advice of the others. Again, if you have a scholar, your alim, maulana, parents, good friends advise you about, for example, to correct yourself because of some wrongdoings, for example. Again, we need this advice to be taken seriously by us so that we don't commit these sins and wrongdoings, for example. Or the advice for betterment, for improving ourselves in all aspects of life, and especially the spiritual aspects of our life, to be a good mu'min and mu'minah, inshallah. ببركة إمام الجواد عليه السلام.
Inshallah, thank you very much, Sheikh. Now, just a quick reminder to all our viewers that this is a live show. We do take in your questions. So if you have any question you'd like to ask, just scan the QR code there in the corner. That'll take you straight to our WhatsApp page. The number's there on the bottom as well. And that is one way you could send in your questions. If you have Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, you can put your questions in the comment section. Or alternatively, give us a call in the studio, 023 515 0199, or call the WhatsApp number. Sheikh, now before we begin, I'm already getting questions here from WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum. Is raqi allowed in Islam? I think that's raqi, I think they're talking about, which is to take the jinn out of someone or so forth. Sheikh, now we'll get this question quite a lot. We, the Shia in the school of Ahlul Bayt, we don't really believe that jinns can come and possess your body and that you need araqi to come and do it and so forth. So, Shaykhna, is araqi allowed in Islam?
Yes, if taken through Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, through the right methods and means. There are ad'iyah which repels the evil jinn, as mentioned before, that you take these ruqyah or ad'iyah to repel those evil, let's say, spirits or jinn in anyhow. But as I've said, it has to come through Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, not through some of those who basically try to make money or
con artists,
use, let's say, stones and I don't know, bones of, I don't know, wolf and so
Yeah.
forth. These are all batil, we don't accept it.
Fair enough. Sheikhna, from His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani, can I follow a leader if I do not know that he is adil? And I think this is to do with Jama'ah Salah, especially the Imam of the Jama'ah. If I don't know if he's adil or not, can I still pray behind him?
In overall, the ulama say that you must make sure that the one that you pray behind him is just an adil. And you can find this adala through asking those who are surrounding this Imam of Jama'ah, or you know them, the mu'mineen who pray behind him, or you know personally this Imam, you know him, he is muttaqi adil, that should be fine, because you have to achieve and reach to the conclusion that he is adil in somehow. You can't just walk in any mosque and see somebody's praying and you just pray behind him. You have to achieve and gain the justice or the adala of this Imam. Also, the Sayyid mentions that you have to make sure that he prays correctly, he pronounces the words of dhikr of the Holy Quran in Salah correctly as well. That's important as well.
Fair enough. Is it permissible to say Allahu Akbar audibly while praying to alert someone of something? Sheikh, this happens a lot. Maybe some of our viewers may have toddlers, young children running around. You're praying your Salah, they might be coming in your way, or the classic, they pick up the turba and run off. And then because you don't want to break the Salah or so forth, you may audibly recite the dhikr of Allah. Is this acceptable, or does this make your Salah batil?
No, there's no objection for the one who might, in the middle of Salah, say Allahu Akbar to grab the attention of somebody. Let's say that the door was, for example, somebody knocked the door, for example, to open the door, for example. So, but when you say Allahu Akbar in Salah, make sure it's with the intention of dhikr, because you can say extra, let's say, statements in Salah that could be dhikr or Quran or dua. You can say these three in Salah, but other than these three, of course, there's a problem, of course.
Shaykhna from YouTube, Assalamu alaikum. Is it permissible to do henna?
Henna is allowed, yes, there's no issue with it. It's allowed, and but for the sisters, they have to make sure that they shouldn't show their hands if it's with henna. I'm sure in Eastern Asian areas like India and Pakistan, it's very famous for the sisters in weddings and other.
Definitely.
They shouldn't show this henna openly in public in front of the men, because this is zina. You cannot reveal the beauty in public. That's important. They have to reveal, conceal this beauty in public, from public. Yeah.
Sheikh, what is the ruling for one who lives next to a mosque? Is it mandatory for them to attend the mosque?
We have basically narrations with this regard, and in overall, the one who lives next to a mosque, it's makruh for this individual to perform the salah at home when he is a neighbor of the mosque, except in, let's say, situations where he can't, let's say he's ill, he can't walk this distance to the mosque, or any other reasons. We have a narration by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in which he stated, "La salata lijara limasjid illa fi masjidihi." La salata, it doesn't mean that the salah is batil for the one who prays at home while he's a neighbor of a mosque. No, the reward would be less, of course, when you have a mosque next door, because if you don't go and I don't go and the others don't go, of course the mosque will be left empty. So we need to fill the masajid of Allah Azza wa Jal with those who come and pray, attend every day the daily prayer, because that's the aim of the mosque, is to be there for the place of worship and ibadah. So if we don't go, then of course it's going to be empty, and eventually people would avoid going, and eventually there would be less da'wah and less tabligh as a result, less preaching of Islam as a result, because when you come to the mosque, you will hear hadith, tafsir, ayah, and so forth. You will learn something about Islam. If you don't go, then of course you will lose these information and knowledge as a result. So one should try to attend these holy places, the mosques, holy shrines. If they're next to the holy shrine, try to visit the shrine every day if they can. it's a great blessing, of course.
Sheikh, in Pakistan, there is a mosque which is 2 doors away from me, but it's not a Shia mosque. So does that apply to me as well? I should be going to that mosque to pray my salah, or is it only the ones that are part of my madhab in my school of thought?
Well, we have to see that with this hadith is a mutlaq hadith, is a general hadith about all the mosques, even the non-Shia mosques. We have to see what the ulama say. Exactly.
Sheikh, if someone has collected some items such as metal cans, plastics and other waste dumps for the purpose of selling them and stayed for more than 1 year, are these included in khums according to His Eminence the Grand Ayatollah Sheikh Bashir al-Najafi?
Ayatollah Bashir mentions that yes, it becomes obligatory and wajib for the one to pay khums on these items, although these are, let's call them garbage, but now this garbage has a value.
Yes.
When you recycle it, you get money out of it. And that's what we have in the third world countries. You have people who are poor. They would go collect from the rubbish in the bins, those bottles, cans and bottles and glasses and so forth, because they have value now. So when they have value, it means that there's money coming in, and ma ghanimtum, you gained this money and wealth. Whatever is surplus left at the end of the year becomes khumus wajib on it.
Definitely. Sheikh, from YouTube, did the Holy Prophet ﷺ have 4 daughters?
There are, of course, discussion between the ulama that are these his basically genuine daughters, biological daughters, or adopted daughters, fostered in somehow. Discussions, some would say they're adopted, some say they're his biological daughters. Anyhow, we have some, we can say, evidences or some kind of proofs which seems to be that they are actually his actual and biological daughters. There's a ziyarah, for example, in the month of Ramadan, when you visit the Imam and the Prophet ﷺ, and then you start to say salam to the sons and daughters of the Prophet. I think there's one of the salams that you say salam to each daughter of the Prophet ﷺ. Allahumma salli ala Ruqayyata bint nabiyyik wal'an man adha nabiyyika fiha. So there's a salam, there's a praise and salawat
mentioned by name, so specifically
by name,
saying
bint nabiyyik, daughter of the Prophet, and may Allah curse those who oppressed her, and so forth. And then you have the statement by Fatima Zahra alayhi salam on her deathbed, when she said to Imam Ali alayhi salam that get married to Umamah bint ukhti, or something like that. So there are some evidences that mentions that those daughters are the biological daughters of the Prophet ﷺ, and not fosters or not adopted daughters. But again, as I said, ulama differ with this opinion.
Fair. From YouTube, Sheikh, is it makruh for women to visit the graveyard at night?
At night, it's been recommended, even by those who are, by men as well. It seems to be that the recommendation is to do with the daytime, and specific days like Friday morning, for example, or Thursday, for example, and not at night. It seems to be the souls depart, they go somewhere else during the night. I don't know exactly how things work in that world, but there isn't much recommendation for us to visit the graves at night, as I've said, because the souls relocate to somewhere else and they come back again. There are the issues with this regard. One should be more specific about these issues and try to visit in daytime, especially on Friday mornings or Thursday afternoons.
It's a really interesting question here from WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. Why is the place for the leader of prayer is sometimes at down level compared to other mosques? So sometimes when you go to a mosque and the leader of Jama'ah prayer, you'll see sometimes there's like stairs and he's lower than those behind him and so forth. What is the reason for this?
This is called mihrab, and mihrab basically is a place for the ibadah and worship and the salah of the imam of the jama'ah. So that's the place of the imam of the jama'ah, to be there in that position.
From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Shaykhna. Can I eat something that with fish gelatin that was made in a non-Muslim country?
You have to make sure that the type of fish is a scaled
fish.
Exactly. Otherwise, you cannot consume it because it could be a non-scale fish as a result. So you have to make sure that it's let's say it's a cod or salmon, for example. It says, for example, it's a cod or salmon. Or for example, it's a sea bass or sea bream. Then you can, of course, consume and eat it. Otherwise, you have to avoid it.
From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Shaykhna. If during Salah one hears the call for salawat, do we recite the salawat or not?
In what?
If you're in Salah. Let's say I go to the Husayniyah, there's a majlis going, I go to the side to pray my Salah, and someone recites salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Do I recite the salawat in my prayer? Do I stop reciting the salawat, or do I carry on my prayer?
As I've said, in Salah you're allowed to say extra on top of what is mentioned in the Salah acts, wajib and mustahab, is to say dhikr, dua and Quran. So you can say, for example, while you're going towards the sujood, you say La ilaha illallah, for example, or Ya Arhamar Rahimin, for example, or while you're getting up from the Salah, for example, towards, let's say, second, third rak'ah, and say Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum. These are dhikr which are allowed, of course. Yeah.
Fair. Shaykhna, is a marriage nullified when the bride is pregnant at the nikah, the time of the nikah? Now, there may not be any obvious signs of pregnancy, but she would know, yes, I am pregnant. So at that time of the nikah, is it still valid or not?
Well, if the husband divorces his wife while she is pregnant, then the duration of the pregnancy is actually the iddah itself. When she gives birth to the child, then of course the iddah has ended. Then of course the second, let's say, person can actually perform the nikah contract and marry this woman. Otherwise, if the second person performs the nikah within the pregnancy time, of course the aqd would be batil and invalid.
Shaykhna, there are some drama series which promote and encourage illicit, forbidden, haram relations. Is it permissible to watch them according to these eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani?
It mentions that watching these movies, of course, if there are indecent scenes involved, of course, and have the influence on the viewers, of course, these are forbidden movies and programs. One should avoid them. And the Sayyid mentions as a obligatory or mandatory precaution, ihtiyat wujubi, for the one to avoid watching these programs. It could be a movie, a series, for example. It could be even documentary, for example, about something. It could be a show, talent show, for example. You see, half of the audience are, women with indecent clothing, for example.
Yes.
So you can't watch these programs. Yes, it's a talent show, but you're not allowed to watch these individuals who are with indecent clothing. That's the issue.
Shaykhna, if when wiping the head, the fingertips touch the forehead or the face, water mixes with the hand water, is it satisfactory to wipe the upper side of the foot with the palm of the hand with which the face water has not mixed?
Yes, indeed, one can actually, because sometimes what happens, the tips of the fingers touches the forehead, then you can actually just wipe
with the palm
of the hand.
So if I go like this, and then now it's mixed because I've touched my forehead now, but with my palm I could still do the massage.
And don't forget, you got more moist than on your face. So that's another issue.
Can we prostrate on loose soil or mattress or pillow while praying, Shaykhna? Sometimes the ground that we pray on is not concrete, it's not firm, and it may be a bit bumpy. So it happens sometimes with floorboards, the boards that have a bounce or something like that. Is it okay for us to pray on those?
You see, stability while performing salah is important at all stages. So to prostrate on a mattress which is bouncy, or a pillow, for example, then of course there's ishkal when it comes to the stability in salah. That breaches the stability condition in salah. So one should make sure that they are stable during the salah from the start to the end. And salah, of course, exceptions are accepted when it comes to, for example, someone is in space or on the, let's say, bus or train and so forth.
Sheikh, there we are. When performing wudu, is it permissible to lift up the foot when wiping them? Now, sometimes, especially for the elderly, sometimes it's difficult for them to lean forward and kneel down to wipe, to do masa on the feet. So sometimes they might put it on a chair, or you know, they sit down and they maybe cross their leg and bring it closer to them so that they can wipe and do the masa. Is that okay?
Yes, that's allowed. One can actually raise his foot and do the masah, as you mentioned, on the chair, on the table, for example. But what is important that you have to achieve the masah and the wiping of the hand, and not the movement of your leg. You know, sometimes
I see.
You can't move your leg to achieve the wiping.
So don't hold the hand and move your foot. You must move the hand over the foot. Hold the leg.
Exactly.
The foot should be stationary wherever
Exactly.
it is. That's understood. Inshallah, Sheikh, now I've got more questions coming in, but we're going to continue those after we have a short break. Please join us after the break as we continue. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
I have a question regarding keeping pictures of scholars at
permissible to
home.
plant trees by or
Was
over
Islam
the
established based on peace and non-violence?
Is it permissible to collect donations for charity projects from
Is it permitted to consume canned food imported from non-Muslim countries?
Is there an issue for men looking at non-Muslim women?
To have your questions answered live, call in on +44 2035 150199 or WhatsApp us on +44 7415 092155. Alternatively, you can also email us on AHKAM SOS at imamhussein.tv.
I have a question regarding keeping pictures of
Is it
scholars at
permissible to
home.
plant trees by or
Was
over
Islam
the graves?
established based on peace and
Is it
non-violence?
permissible to collect donations for charity projects from
Is it permitted to consume canned food imported from non-Muslim
Is there
countries?
an issue for men looking at non-Muslim women?
To have your questions answered live, call in on +44 2035 150199 or WhatsApp us on +44 7415 092155. Alternatively, you can also email us on AHKAM SOS at imamhussein.tv.
Yes, you can send in your questions via the WhatsApp number. You can, if you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, put it in the comment section. You can call us 0203 515 0199. We are here to help answer your questions. We don't need to know your name. We don't need to know where you're asking from. Just send in your questions direct, and inshallah we'll be able to discuss and answer your questions. The number should be in the bottom there. QR code. Scan it, and you'll be able to send in your questions. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Assalamu alaikum.
We've got some questions coming in now from WhatsApp. Is it allowed for under 15 girls to use makeup for their nails, so nail polish and so forth?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Under 15 girls are basically, they are baligh and they have reached the age of adolescence. Because by completing the lunar year of 9 years old by a girl and entering 10 years, the 10th year, lunar, the Qamari calendar, they become baligh. And the ahkam of an, adult woman would also cover this age as well. Now they are wajib to pray and so forth. So as well, the issue of the makeup, of the zina, of revealing the beauty and beautification, again, applies to them. So they have to conceal this beautification or this beauty. وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ, as the Quran states. They shouldn't reveal their beauty. And one of them is to, the polishing the nails, in which they have to cover it from the non-mahram.
Sheikh, another one from WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum. What could I answer if my Sunni friend would ask me, or if he asks, do Shia in general curse some of the Khleifs like Abu Bakr and Umar? How would I answer? The best answer really is to say yes, but Sheikh, you know better than I. When other madhabs come towards us, other schools of thought come and they say, oh, you Shia, you curse the Sahaba, you curse the Khleifs, Abu Bakr and Umar and so forth. How should we respond to a claim which, to be honest, is correct, but we don't want to be causing conflict? It's just a different opinion, isn't it?
You see, for such individual who wants a quick answer in a paragraph, let's say, or in a short statement, it may not be a convincing answer. So they have to start reading the books of those reverts who converted from Ahl Sunnah to Shia, like Dr. Al-Tijani As-Samawi, for example, and others, to start reading their books, how they were convinced and persuaded with the idea of leaving these madahib and entering into the light of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad's true aqeedah of Islam. It's not a madhab. Shi'ism is not a madhab. Shia is part of the Islam. Rasulullah is the one who established tashayyu' when he said, Ali wa shi'atuhum al-fa'izun yawm al-qiyamah, in the books of non-Shia mentioned as well. So he established tashayyu' as part of Islam, as a pillar of Islam as well, part of this, because the imamah, to believe in the imamah of Ahlul Bayt, is part of the Islam as well. So they need to start reading gradually, book after book, to reach that conclusion. Otherwise, you can't just, you can't tell a Christian, for example, that your saints are all, for example, batil, and they have wrote the Bible 100 years after the demise or the ascending of Isa alayhi salam to the fourth sky, for example. And then they came and they wrote the Bible themselves. They've added to the Bible, to the real Bible, and they changed many issues and many words and statements. So it's hard to say to them that they forged the Bible, they actually deviated the Christians and so forth. So you have to start gradually, bringing books to read and so forth. It's not going to be convincing within a few minutes or seconds to convince the others.
Sheikhna, if the wudu, is the wudu valid when I do mas'ah on my hair, but my hair is wet?
Initially, you have to make sure that the head is dry when you do the masah. But anyhow, if there's wetness, you have to make sure that the wetness and the moist of your palm hand is more than the moist of your head. In this case, you can do so.
It's hardly ever like that, Sheikh, I believe you me. Is it permissible to plant trees by or over the graves? Sheikh, I guess it's a Western philosophy that as the body is decomposing, it's the chemicals and the minerals and the nutrients that are being released from the body can be used to help grow plants and so forth. I've seen it many times on top of graves. There's rose bushes, there's trees, there's other plants. And as the body is decomposing, it's like a small memory, or the energy or the material body that was left in this dunya has now been transferred to this plant, and maybe this plant is the final memory of this dead person and so forth. Islamically speaking, is this okay? Is this allowed?
Well, there's no evidence which says it's forbidden. I've seen in many graves back in time when I used to study in Damascus, and next to Zainab alayhi salam's shrine, there was a nearby graveyard where they had trees just next to the grave of each marhum. So there's no issue with it, no. I mean, as long as it doesn't cause insult to the mayyit, that's important.
Is it permissible to use goods that are donated to an organization for personal purposes? And is it permissible to give the required fee to the organization for using its goods? Sheikhna, I've seen it many times. For example, people donate Qur'ans to the mosque. And then there's a Fatiha, or someone's passed away and people are coming. So they'll take Qur'ans from the mosque for those who are attending the house or so forth. to recite, and maybe they'll pay a small fee for this. Is this okay? Is this acceptable?
You see, to use these items in the mosque for personal use, it's not permissible. Unless one pays a fee to the mosque, to the trustees, for example,
yes.
To the committee, for example, to the, let's say, sentence manager, that I'm paying something, and if they accept, then of course the issue is different now.
Sheikh, we're in Islam, we're encouraged to give sadaka, and there's many poor people that we try to help and so forth. And then we have sometimes our own family who require sadaka and so forth. Am I allowed to give sadaka to, let's say, my nieces and nephews who may come from a poor background? Maybe they don't come from a poor background. Maybe they want some pocket money or this and that. Can I give it to them as sadaqah?
Yes, it's permissible. And as mentioned, that the relatives have the priority over the good deeds. Al-aqrabun awla bil ma'ruf. So if you have poor relatives, of course, they have the priority to be given sadaqah and support and help before giving to anyone else.
Just a quick round to our viewers. We've got about 10 minutes left or so. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, please send them in via the WhatsApp number, should be there on the bottom. You can scan the QR code in the corner. If you're watching on Facebook Live or you're watching on YouTube, you can send in your questions via the comment section. And if you'd like to give us a call in the studio, 0203 515 0199, or alternatively, if you're outside the UK, give us a call on the WhatsApp number. Our technical team will be happy to send you through to the studio. Sheikh, we've got some questions coming in from our viewers. Assalamu alaikum. A lot of emphasis on visiting the graves, but don't the souls leave the body and not stay in the grave? So why do we visit the grave?
No, we have narrations that mention that the souls come back to the graves in anyhow. That's what I was telling about, not visiting
at night time.
At night time, rather on specific days and times where the soul is there, and they would actually be happy and joyful when they see their relatives, sons, daughters are
Sheikh,
next to them.
I've also heard that in Barzakh, that when people visit the grave, they get notified. So they know. They'll be like, oh, Fulan has come to my grave, and they get happy from hearing this news and so forth.
Exactly. And I was reading some statement or narration, I'm not sure if it's 100% accurate, but it mentions that if you say salam in specific times, you say to those marhumin, salam alaikum, there were specific times they won't reply to you, but in other times they would reply to you. So it's a different world, subhanAllah, it's a different alam. So one should follow the rules of visiting the graveyard and the time, especially when they say, let's say in Friday mornings, for example, or Thursday evenings, afternoons before the sunset and so forth. One should make sure that they use the right times to visit them.
From YouTube, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. I have some cooking recipients in which food was sent to us by people we don't know personally. I have tried to find the people so I can return the containers. No luck. Should I keep them or donate them? Sheikhna, people always send food back and forth and so forth, especially Ramadan time and then Eid as well. Now, sometimes we get a lot of food coming and we don't remember whose plates are these, whose containers are these and so forth. Then we actively try to find, okay, who does these belong to? And I can't find them. What do I do with the containers? Do I keep them? Do I use them myself? Do I throw them away? Do I give them to charity?
And overall, we have the rules about the luqata, that if you find something and they have a specific value or cost, for example, then you advertise for, let's say, 1 year. If you couldn't find the one, the owner, of course, then you have to go back to AHKAM SOS, who will, for example, would basically get in charge of these issues. Let's say so they're valuable, for example, watch and mobile phone and so forth.
Fair. From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna. How can I learn Ilm al-Hadith in detail? How scholars learn this in Hawza? For example, YouTube, not online Hawza. Do you know any YouTube playlists or videos in Arabic where I can learn this? Or is there a specific book which teach that? Now, Sheikhna, you and I both have Hausa backgrounds. And if you are to study Hadith, first of all, you need to be at a certain level, and then of Aqaid and Quran, and then we approach the Hadith. And then also, it is mandatory to have a teacher, for you may not be able to, or you're not on the level to interpret the Hadith and how to actually approach the Hadith and so forth. However, we shouldn't really stop people wanting to learn Hadith, especially from their own homes, from YouTube or online and so forth. So what is your best recommendation, Sheikhna, for those who want to learn ilm Hadith from social media?
I mean, you can start with listening and reading the book, and the lessons are available on YouTube. The book name is دروس في علم الدراية, and the author is Akram Barakat, Sheikh Akram Barakat. He wrote this book for the starters, for the ones who wanted to know exactly the meanings of the hadith, the types of hadith, Hasan, Da'if, for example. All these terminologies that are mentioned in this book, Gharib, I don't know, all these types of hadith, how they classify them in terms of its strength and weakness. So this book, and there are lessons as well by some of the teachers, Mashayikh, they have actually taught this book. You can go back and find out, inshallah.
I think it's important to mention also is that there is stuff online available, discussions, or they take one hadith and they try and dissect it and so forth. But majority of it is in Arabic. When it comes to English, I don't see much available at the moment. But inshallah, the brother can or the sister can go and look and find something, inshallah. From WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, Shaykhna. Can you please describe the 7 earths which are mentioned in the Quran? I think it's talking about the 7 skies, or maybe even 7 dimensions.
على كل حال, 7 سماوات and أراضين, these are of course mentioned, but do we know exactly what's going on in these 7 skies and 7 earth? We have to find out if there are narrations mentioned exactly. What we know that, for example, in the 4th sky or 4th heaven, there is Isa alayhi salam, still alive. When he was raised, while he was chased by the Romans to kill him. But Allah Azza wa Jalla, rafa'ahu Allah. So, and then we have other prophets, Idris, I think, others who were raised as well. Ilyas, Idris. There's one in the earth, and one is in the sky. So, yes, but exactly these are, على كل حال, concealed knowledge, in which, of course, if there is a prophet or imam would clarify to us exactly what's going on in these 7 skies or 7 earth, that would be, of course, beneficial.
Inshallah. Sheikhna, from WhatsApp, what do I do when I forget to recite the 2nd surah in my wajib salah? Now, reciting the 2nd surah, I don't think it's part of the rukn, so it doesn't make the salah batil. However, you have forgotten a piece of the salah. So what is the penalty, or how do you compensate when you haven't read the 2nd surah in salah?
You see, if you forget the surah, you go to the next one. So if I forgot to, let's say I was reciting Surah Al-Qadr, Inna anzalnahu, and I stopped. I don't know what exactly comes after the 1st or 2nd verse. I could just switch to another surah. I go to Surah Al-Kawthar, Inna a'tayna al-Kawthar, straight away. So I can switch. The salah won't be batil if I have alternative surah to recite.
From YouTube, Sheikhna, is wearing thread in hands rest is right? My question is, wearing thread in hands is right? If it's maybe they're talking about, sometimes you see it, especially where I come from, in Pakistan and so forth, they have a thread that's wrapped around the wrist. Sometimes it's from a piece of cloth that has touched the haram of Imam Hussein, or from a flag or so forth. Sometimes it's another, and they say when the another is complete, I'll cut it, and so forth. Is this okay? Is this acceptable?
It's like a blessing from the haram, from the shrine. That should be fine. There's no issue with it.
From YouTube, I am completely blind. What should I do if I doubt the direction of a qibla while praying? That is an excellent question, Sheikhna. If I am blind and I'm not sure the direction of the qibla, what do I do?
I mean, when it comes to the Qibla, ulama would mention that somebody who is let's say, in a desert, in a Sahara, for example, and you can't find the Qibla, you have to pray 4 sides, 4 directions to achieve the Qibla. Ayatollah Shirazi mentions that if you can guess the Qibla, that should be fine. Sometimes, once happened to me, when I asked, for example, someone, a driver, that where is southeast? Because in London, the Qibla is towards the southeast,
yes.
a bit to the maybe left or right. I'm not exactly sure.
Southeast.
Southeast, a bit to the left or right.
Southeast, east towards the
yeah, exactly.
In between southeast.
So
and east
you can
like
guess. That's fine. You can pray towards this position and direction. But as I've said, some ulama say you have to pray 4 directions in this case.
Fair. There was another one from YouTube. Where has it gone? 1 second. A really good question here. What is the ruling on mistakes done in nafila prayers? Now, Shaykhana, nafila prayers aren't wajib, mustahab. But I've made a mistake in one of them. What is the penalty or the punishment, or how do I compensate for that?
I mean, if you made a mistake, you can correct it at the same time, for example. I don't see why should one, as you said, pay the penalty for.
But what if it's after the prayer? I had the intention of doing 2 rakat nafila. I prayed, but I didn't recite the surah properly. I've just remembered, I didn't recite the dhikr in the ruku. Or I mentioned subhanallah twice, not 3 times. Or something else. The tashahhud I mentioned, I missed out 1 salam in the taslim or something like that.
No, we have ahkam of shak in the salah where some shukuk you can ignore and you can just continue and carry on with your salah. So if you, for example, forget to, for example, recite the 2nd surah and then you went to sujood and ruku', of course you have to ignore, because now you've moved towards a 2nd rukun, the basis of salah. So you just have to carry on with your salah.
I think we've got time for probably 2 more questions, Sheikh. Now from YouTube. Assalamu alaikum. What is the perfect beard length according to the Ahlul Bayt? As it is mustahab to shave the moustache, because I heard I had read a hadith from Imam Sadiq in Bihar al-Anwar. How long should one have the beard, and is it mustahab to take the moustache off?
Yes, to trim the moustache, correct, that's right. And to have the beard up to the fist. No longer the fist, maximum, yes.
And minimum?
Ayatollah Sistan mentions number 3, and then UK.
3 millimeters it will be.
Possibly UK machines.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
nice.
Minimum,
Inshallah. And also, let's have a look. Final question from WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykhna. I am looking at a mud house. Someone has died in it and women are crying. And then I pass by the house. Then I see water. There is a lot of water and my uncle is standing in it, in the water. And that uncle is also my father-in-law. He is saying that come with your feet away from the water, otherwise you will drown in the water. The water is fresh and flowing like a river and I see 2 black snakes are coming in it. Then my uncle is saying, go away from here, otherwise they will eat you. Then I am telling my uncle that they will eat you too, and then I'm trying to get him out too. Thank you for your lovely story. We are not dream interpreters. I do apologize. We are discussing Islamic fiqh, and if you have any questions on Islamic fiqh, please send them in. We're not going to be able to help you with anything like that. I do apologize. But that's all we have time for. Thank you very much, Shaykhna, and thank you to all our viewers for joining us on this episode of Ahkam SOS. If you have any fiqh-related questions, please send them in. We are more than happy to discuss, research. If you have a fiqh question in particular about a certain fatwa or a fatawa from a certain marja or so forth, we have access to the offices, the official offices and the official representatives. We are more than happy to do our research for you guys. So please join us on the next episode on Imam Hussein TV 3. We'll be here on Wednesday, 7 p.m, Sky Channel 789, inshallah. Until then, if you have any questions, send them on the WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
I think it's everyone's dream to work and serve the Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam.
Working with this project allows us to contribute back to the community.
Our main objective is to bring Imam Hussein to every household, or to take people to Karbala.
Producers, cameramen and editors all synchronize to capture, inspire and bring you closer to Abu Abdullah.
Working here is an honor and a privilege, yet nothing compared to the sacrifice of Imam Hussein alayhi salam.
Pass on the lantern of Imam Hussein.
Why should you support?
Why should you support?
Why should you support?
Imam Hussein TV is our Husseiniyya to the world.
It's an open university to learn theology, history, law, Quran and many more sciences.
Many rely on our channel as they have no access to any Husseiniyyas or any mosques.
And they have no access to any community events nor scholars, and they solely rely on our broadcasting.
Children in the West have so many questions to ask about the faith.
We aim to educate youth and reverts in a thoughtful manner and language which is interactive, easily digestible and understood.
Our project is fully crowdfunded. We have no sales, no business, no profits.
If you do not support us, who will?
If you do not open a channel, who will?
And if you do not raise the flag of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, who will?
We have been operating since 2016 and we have brought to you shows like Morning Barakah,
AHKAM SOS,
Her Thoughts
and The Debate Show.
We also have created many documentaries on topics such as the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
miracles in Arba'een,
non-Shias visiting Karbala,
And most importantly,
we bring you Karbala Live.
Karbala Live.
Karbala Live.
Karbala Live.
Labbaika ya Hussein.
With more and more victims of war and poverty, the Middle East has seen a surge in patients seeking medical aid. Iraq alone has 2.4 million people without access to any form of medical assistance. In Afghanistan, due to the lack of funding and devastating conflict, the health service is at breaking point.